Guys, Mustang here bringing a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to be taking a look at the STR Super Gogeta Super EZA. I've been looking forward to getting this guy Super EZA'd and testing him out, because obviously when his details came out, the initial reaction, a lot of people seemingly were disappointed. A lot of people thinking that Janemba was going to be a lot better, that they didn't do enough for this guy. I was seeing things about, like, apparently the JP comments on, like, the JP side, because obviously the details were posted there first. A lot of the JP community are apparently really unhappy with this guy, with the general consensus seemingly being that, like, because he was the first anniversary character and when he came out was like the broken best unit in the game, I think their expectation was that his Super EZA was that he should be like broken and the best EZA unit in the game, which I don't necessarily agree with. Doesn't have to be the case, right? The whole point of an EZA and then a Super EZA is to make these units good and usable again in current content. Although I do get kind of like, you know, Blue Evolution Vegeta compared to the other anniversary units. If we get a Super EZA and they're not as good as some of the other Super EZAs we've already got, because, you know, we're talking about Buhan and how cracked he obviously is, then it can feel a little bit disappointing. But I've been saying since the beginning that I think this guy, once we see him in game, will actually be impressive and people will be worrying about nothing. But obviously now we get to find out for sure whether that is correct or not. So obviously Super EZAs don't change the leader skill or the super attack effect. We do lower attack and defense on super, so any bosses that can be attack lowered, that is obviously a little bit useful. He gets the 2 key attack and defense 200%. Attacks are effective against all types, high chance to crit, and then he launches an additional attack that has a high chance to become a super. On attack, he gets 100% attack and defense. When he's the second or third character to obtain key spheres, so slot 2 or 3 basically, gets a guaranteed additional super attack and gives all allies 2 key and 40% attack. For every rainbow key sphere obtained, he gets an extra attack and defense 50% and 10% chance to crit. For every attack performed, we get 50% defense up to 200 and damage reduction 10% within the turn up to 30%. Now bear in mind, it's for every attack performed, it doesn't have to be a super. So in slot 2 or 3, he will always attack 3 times, right? The first part of his passive could just be a normal, and then he gets a guaranteed additional super from being in slot 2 or 3. So he will always attack 3 times if he's in slot 2 or 3. You could get a 4th attack from the hidden potential as well, but obviously the damage reduction does only go up to 30%. So he is going to be getting a lot on super. Now when there's a super class enemy, he gets an extra 77% attack and a great chance to guard. Against an extreme class enemy, he gets attack and defense 77%, guaranteed crits and guaranteed guard. So obviously he's going to be better against extreme class enemies. So we can see here turn 1, bearing in mind he's got no build up at all, he does have the support. This is turn 2, so he has the extra bit of support from the Super Saiyan trio on the previous turn. Of course, we've ended up with a situation where he basically, the enemy's almost dead. So the one thing I did want to see here is obviously he gets the extra 50% attack and defense for each rainbow key sphere obtained. So does that go on straight away? So there's 4, which is obviously a very good turn. It goes on straight away, so that puts him up to 497k. So bear in mind, when attacking he gets 100%, so he already goes up to 1,000,000 defense. Now obviously we've put him in slot 1 here just so he actually gets a chance to attack, because we want to get at least some of his passive built up here. As long as we don't get supered, like, he will tank a normal. And then got 19 million attack stat. Now when it comes to his attack stats, 19 million, people might be like, oh well, that's not very high, like, especially again if we're thinking of units like Buhan. But remember that 19 million is also effective against all types and guaranteed crit. So they do often do this sort of thing where there is that trade-off, right, where if a character, both of those abilities allow the unit to do loads of extra damage. Effective against all types and guaranteed crit are like all things that are making him do extra damage. So the attack stat not being as high, it doesn't necessarily translate to him doing less damage, right? Like a 19 million attack stat that is a guaranteed crit and effective against all types is going to be just as effective as, like, I don't know what the exact multiplier is, but like 25 to 30 million potentially. Because if crit is 1.5, then it is basically the equivalent of like 30 million, right? Because it's guaranteed crit and effective against all types, which even if a unit has one of those two abilities, it's obviously very useful. But if you have both at the same time, it's just guaranteed extra damage, right? So a little bit disappointing that we only got the one attack off, but we won't have a crazy damage output turn this turn, so we'll be able to get some better numbers out of him on the next turn, get some more build up. We got the Bulma support as well, which will of course carry over to the next turn. Now when it comes to his teams, his 200% leads, he's not on any of the 220 leads that currently exist in the game, right? Because he's not an Earthbred fighter or a Potara character, so he doesn't get it from the new Vegito. And then obviously he's not a Giant 8 power character or a Universe Survival Saga character. So his best leader skill currently is the full 200%, which is from either the Physical Trio, which is the team that we're running, the Physical Gogeta from the 8-year, the LR Super Saiyan Trio, because of course he's a Super Saiyan, and then a lot of the older units. We've got for TURs is the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. So obviously that could be a very interesting team. For like, obviously there's a lot of crossover with Vegito for that team, but you could run for like a Buu Saga team, I guess, that doesn't have the new Vegito. I guess that's the problem with Vegito being so good. It's like, why would you run a Buu Saga team and not run like double Vegito? But you could run a Buu Saga team with the Angel Super Saiyan 3 Goku, but also have Gogeta on there with the full 200%, because that's the big thing, is he isn't restricted to like allies or anything. So that obviously plays really well in his favor. So we're starting the turn at turn 2 here, all links active, 600k defense, and that's after him getting one super attack off. So he still has the potential to get another 150% defense from this, like, for every attack performed part of his passive. So let's go for, I want these guys to get key so they can be good defensively, but I don't want them to do too much damage. Plus I do want the rainbow orbs as well, so we can get 2 rainbow orbs. So that puts us up to, before attacking, 714k, which means on super he gets 100%. That means he goes up to 1.4 million, and by the time he's done super attacking, he has 30% damage reduction as well. Don't want to transform you straight away. No, let's leave it for now. Get another stack for you, I guess. But yeah, obviously the Super Saiyan Trio. This team is going to be very good for Gogeta, because obviously the Super Saiyan Trio provide a ton of support. Bulma on the team gives a decent bit of support. This is kind of one of the few teams where she is still viable, because she was kind of starting to drop off when these guys came out in terms of being a little bit too weak defensively for some of the tough bosses. But then obviously they give so much defense that she was kind of hanging in there. But obviously one thing we would all assume is that even though this guy's not on the Tech Vegito 220 lead, he's probably going to be on the Part 2 LR 220 lead. The only downside for this scenario for us is that we have gotten into a situation where, because he was on turn 2, we just keep like not being able to get many attacks off against the boss, which is annoying, because obviously ideally we'd want to see him do loads of attacks all in one turn. So I'm going to float off you. I guess one way to do that here, because we'll float this guy off and then fuse him when he's going to be on rotation with the other Gogeta. But I guess one thing we could do here to kind of like stall a little bit and then make sure we get to the next phase and the boss still has a ton of HP for Gogeta is to just go ahead and use the standby for the Physical Trio, because then obviously that means they're not going to do a lot of damage on this turn. So we can go ahead and do that, and we'll do that. And then, yeah, hopefully we don't do too much damage to Zarbon here. But yeah, finally got some dupes for the Physical Trio. I've got 2 dupes from the banner while trying to pull Vegito unsuccessfully, as you guys know at this point. I've pulled so many Int Namek Gokus, and the first time he came up, because I hadn't actually checked the banner lineup, I was so excited to just jump in and summon. And obviously not being 100% familiar with the new Goku silhouette, saw that Super Saiyan hair outline, and it was like, oh, is this him? And it was Int Namek Goku, and then I've pulled him so many times now from that banner. But yeah, I did get 2 dupes for the Physical Trio. Definitely a lot better at 79%. I've had them at 55% from the Worldwide Celebration. Having those extra dupes is definitely very helpful. Yeah, these guys, they're going to do a decent bit of damage here. That's the problem with Gogeta, of course, not being a slot 1 unit as well, is that we can't, like, get to a turn. When we get to the next turn, like, we're still going to have to put another unit in slot 1 who's going to get to attack first. But I mean, that is the thing, like, this is a realistic scenario of what can happen. This is why I don't like to get to these points in like showcases and then just scrap them off and be like, oh no, I'll just do a showcase where he was on turn 1, because it's a realistic showing of if you jump into an event and he's on turn 2, then unfortunately this is a thing that can happen where it gets to him being on the rotation and the enemy's almost dead, so he doesn't get to attack. And again, it's going to be the same again here. Like if I put him in slot 1, he's got 618k defense, so, and he does have guard because we're fighting an extreme class enemy, so he would be able to tank normals. But if Zarbon super attacks in slot 1, then we'll probably just end up dying. I'm on the info thing anyway, just to get to check his 200% lead. So let me double check. How much damage does Zarbon actually do with his super attack? 2.2 million. So if we put him in slot 1 and he supers, we will die. Even with the guard. If it was after he attacks, that's the thing, after Gogeta attacks, he'll tank Zarbon's super attack quite nicely. But we don't get to see the after we attack. So with the rainbow orbs, 822k. Then we also get the Bulma support. So post super attack, he's actually going to be close to like 2 million defense with 30% damage reduction. Because remember, he will in slot 2 or 3 always get 3 attacks unless the enemy's dead. And then how much defense and damage reduction he has doesn't matter, right? So I would say overall, just from seeing the numbers that we are not only seeing on the screen, but what we can tell from seeing his defense in the menu and all that. Like, we know what his post-super defense is going to be here now. At 800k, that was before the Bulma support was applied. That would put him at 1.6 million with 30% damage reduction. So some of these bosses now, even in these stages that we have now, because obviously we are waiting for the harder ones to come out, but even these stages that we have now where bosses are hitting for 3 million-ish, take off like 30%, that puts it to 2.1. If he's at like 1.8 million defense post super, that means he's taking 300k from a 3 million damage super attack. And that's without factoring in guard as well. So he is taking less than that. So definitely very, very good defensively. I think what we'll do here, because again, we don't want to do like crazy amounts of damage. I might leave you there because future Gohan will be better defensively. Just grab these, so we're basically wasting the not get a rainbow orb for you so you don't get an additional, basically wasting the standby for Dragon Fist Goku, because Dragon Fist Goku for the, I don't even know what the official name is. I keep calling it like the Miracle Punch or whatever, but yeah, for Goku, because that allows him to tank in slot 1 here for us and not do any damage. And then obviously future Gohan will tank nicely after supering. Future Gohan's not... Is Future Gohan on the 220% lead for the GO? I might do a 220% video for him, because I actually really like Future Gohan. He aged really well, because like he got a couple of new 200% leads, including this one, that again, like as we all know with the trio, because they gave so much extra defense as well, he stayed like a very viable option. Yeah, because Earthbred Fighters and Potara are the plus 50%. Future Gohan's got to be on Earth Protecting Heroes, right? There's no way they would shaft our boy out of Earth Protecting Heroes. Dude literally died protecting the Earth from the androids in the future timeline. Like, he's got to be on there. I'm going to check it in a minute when we get control back of the game, and if he's not on there, it's another typical example of Dokkan category shenanigans, because if anyone is going to be on Earth Protecting Heroes, I mean, I say anyone, there's obviously other characters who you know should definitely be on there, but if there's a category that Future Gohan should have, it's definitely that. Is that 1.4 million? Okay, never mind. You didn't protect the Earth well enough, Gohan. Died to Captain Ginyu. Okay, so we're jumping back in here. We've got a much better turn 1, because now we've got Gogeta on turn 1. We've got the physical Gogeta, so we have all of our links active. I've picked up 4 rainbow orbs, so 466 on the first turn. And bear in mind, of course, that he gets 100% on super. So even on the first turn, before he gets any build-up, because obviously when he attacks, he's going to actually get more defense before he would then take a hit anyway. But even on this first turn, before doing any attacks and getting any build-up, he has 1 million defense, or even over 1 million defense after supering. Because again, in slot 2, he is going to attack 3 times. So he gets 3 of those procs for his buff. So he's well over 1 million defense on turn 1 after attacking with 30% damage reduction. And aside from the shorter events, like I know Janemba and Tech Gogeta events were kind of an anomaly because not many other events are like that. But bosses that are obviously hitting as hard as they're going to hit straight away from turn one, like those are the only kind of stages where that's not really enough defense. But in events like this, like obviously for this stage with the Kui boss, he only hits for 1.1 million. So if he was still alive after that third attack from Gogeta and he super attacks Gogeta, Gogeta's taking double-digit damage. So that's pretty good considering that's just right out of the gate, like start of the event level stats. Are those all going to stay together if we drop these? I want to make sure we get the orbs for Bulma, because if we don't get the support for Bulma, that's a bit of a pain. There we go. We want that because it carries over for the 2 turns, and obviously it helps to buff everybody else anyway. 481k, you don't say. And then the AoE as well. Oof, this could be an awkward turn. What's Bulma taking from this turn 1? Okay, double digits, that's fine. I guess it's only... Does it only do the damage of his normal attack, which is 700k for normals for Dodoria? But yeah, Gogeta absolutely destroying Kui, and we actually get the 3 attacks. So he's got practically as much build-up as he managed to get in the entire last run. But that shows you, like I was saying last time, with that being a realistic example of like if he starts in turn 2. If he starts on turn 1 and actually gets to start doing his thing straight away, that shows you the massive difference that that makes and like how quickly he can start actually getting built up and how well he's going to do. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing his fully built up numbers. But of course, by him one-turning the... one-turning Kui, that has put us back into the situation where he is going to be coming in on the second turn against Dodoria here. Fortunately, like, Future Gohan doesn't do a crazy amount of damage. I'm still surprised that Future Gohan died to Ginyu. I mean, I double-checked, like, Ginyu's super attack does 2.8 million, and so obviously Future Gohan has type disadvantage. So, whilst he does have pretty good defense and damage reduction after supering, with type disadvantage factored in as well, that means that Ginyu's super attack is doing, like, over 3 million damage. So, a little bit of a tough one there for Future Gohan. Shame he doesn't have guard. That would have been pretty good. In fact, I didn't actually check as we came to the very end of that event whether he is on Earth Protecting Heroes. But as I was saying before we cut the first part, he must be, right? He's not! Bro, come on. How is he not on Earth Protecting Heroes? Future Gohan Shaft. That is outrageous. So yeah, he doesn't have a 220 lead either then, I guess. Wait, because who else is Gogeta? No, Vegeto's... check his leader skill. Yeah, Fused Fighters or Pure Saiyan, so obviously Gohan is not either of those. So yeah, he doesn't have a 220 leader skill either. Man, Future Gohan deserve better. Alright, let's do this so we can make sure that Gogeta gets to attack again this turn, because these guys are now not going to attack at all. So we'll do that. So second turn after getting 3 attacks, Gogeta's at 900k defense start of turn. And bear in mind, he can still get 1 more buff, because this, when each attack performed, goes up to 200%. And we can get 3 rainbow orbs here as well. So that puts us to 1.16 million. So that means after supering, he's going to be on 2.3 million with 30% damage reduction as well. So that's where we start getting to these sort of crazy levels where, what's a 4 million damage super going to do? Minus 30% would be 2.8. He's at 2.4 and he has guard. So with guard factored in as well, that means from a 4 million damage super attack, he's going to be taking close to, if not, just straight up double-digit damage. So, yeah, people saying that he was underwhelming. I mean, I guess you can compare to, like, Buhan with the attack stats and the healing, and obviously he has crazy post-attack defense and stuff as well. But, like, yeah, Gogeta is definitely no slouch. Like, we get a guaranteed additional super in slot 2. So, 1.8. I mean, Buhan gets a guaranteed additional super as well, right? But 1.8 for all 3 supers, which are guaranteed crits and effective against all types. But it now also means that he is tanking, like, basically everything. We got an additional normal, which of course is a crit. Eats the super, which does 9 damage. I mean, Dodoria, his super is only... what? Well, his super does just under 2 million. So, I mean, that's obviously not crazy to what we're expecting now from some of these, like, end of phase bosses. But yeah, that's still pretty good. Just eats that for double-digit damage. So yeah, I mean, Gogeta's definitely very, very good. There's a lot of stuff you could do as well, messing around with support shenanigans and stuff if you really want to boost like his attack power. But yeah, I think he's looking very, very impressive personally. So what do we want to do here? Let's go ahead and transform you. A lot of orbs on the field. Can we actually one turn Zarbon? Would be good for Gogeta for the next turn if we actually can. So that's the thing with the physical trio. As events have gotten harder, they do take quite a bit of damage in slot 1. When they came out, with the level of content that was available at the time, they were just your go-to. Like, you throw them in slot 1 and they're just really, really good. But like, even by the time we got to well, for global, the anniversary was not long before the worldwide, but there were times after I'd first pulled these guys from the worldwide at 55%, and you go into like the blue Gogeta blue zone and they were dying to Gogeta in slot 1 in the final phase. Like, so they have been a unit that have always been really good, and they're really good at buffing the rest of the team. I feel like going forward in the meta, as like new teams become available that they are on, they're going to be useful to like throw on the team as maybe like a floating support unit. But that restriction they have of needing to have an all-out struggle or movie heroes character on the turn in order for them to actually get their extra damage reduction and give that 77% defense to allies, it does hurt them a little bit, because it makes it so you can't just splash them into like any team and then be providing that great value. But on the teams where it will work, like as we start to see more and more of these 220 leads come out, they'll eventually get one that you'll be able to put them on a build where they're going to be able to have those specific allies on the turn. Hey, it might even be the part 2 unit, right? Because one of their requirements is a movie heroes character. So depending on what his leader skill is, if they're on his 200% and 20% lead, and the part 2 unit is anywhere near as good as Vegito, you're going to have one on both your main rotations. So if you throw these guys on the team, even as just a 3rd slot floating unit, they're always going to have a movie heroes ally on the turn with them. So definitely an interesting looking future for these guys because of what they bring to the team. As long as you can meet that restriction they need in order for them to be getting their full like value, then they are going to be providing quite a bit to the team. So definitely looking forward to seeing the next like sets of 220 leads and stuff that we get. But yeah, we'll be able to see what Gogeta's start of turn stats. We'll wrap up the video here because I don't want this to be too long. But this next turn allows us to see the actual full build-up like for STR Gogeta. Especially because, I mean, we got the other Goku in the standby, so we could leave him like that and he won't attack. But what is Gogeta going to be at here? And this is before we get the orbs for Bulma as well. So he's at 927k. And that's before we've picked up his orbs. And look how many rainbow orbs are there. So if we do this, then we do this, 4 rainbow orbs. So now Gogeta's at 1.3 million, 1.33. So he's going to be at 2.66 million defense after he attacks with 30% damage reduction. Obviously here that's not going to be the case. And when we pick up the Bulma orbs, it's going to go up by even more. So he's basically getting close to 3 million damage, 3 million defense after supering. And then obviously Bulma does provide that little bit of attack support as well. So that allows us to do... That's the other thing as well with the physical trio. When you're in the standby, they basically are invincible, right? Double-digit damage from the super from Zarbon, which does 2.2 million and type disadvantage. But yeah, Gogeta, I think the one thing people could potentially complain about is that his attack stats are maybe not as high as they would have liked, considering he was an actual damage, like, god when he came out. But defensively he's very, very strong, and his damage is definitely not bad. It's just like not crazy compared to some of the other units we've seen. But again, this is him on a 200% lead. He will almost certainly be on the 220% lead for the part 2 character, so obviously all of those numbers are going to be that little bit higher as well, which is going to make him look very, very impressive. So overall, I mean, I'm not surprised. It's a typical Dokkan community thing, right, where the details come out for a unit on paper, people are like, oh, he's not very good / underwhelming, and then oh, actually, like, he's actually pretty damn good. So let me know what you guys think of Gogeta down below in the comment section. Is he better than you expected? Is he about what you expected? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.